Why are women increasingly unwilling to get married? It's because they feel men are dispensable. Men do need marriage more than women. The main reason most women don't get married isn't because of houses, cars, or money. The key is that they can support themselves. They can buy their own houses, drive their own cars, and cook their own meals. What do they need a man for? In the past, couples were together to improve their lives. Now, being together lowers women's quality of life. Previously, men were the breadwinners and women stayed home. Now women not only need to be beautiful and good at raising children, but they also need to go to work and earn money. With China's economy continuing to stagnate, more and more people born in the 1990s and 2000s avoid discussing marriage. According to data released by the Ministry of Civil Affairs of the People's Republic of China, only 6.106 million couples registered for marriage nationwide in 2024, a decrease of 20.5% year-on-year. Despite various subsidies introduced across mainland China for marriage and childbirth, both marriage and birth rates continue to decline. The high cost of marriage and persistently high unemployment rates make it seem unaffordable for many young people to marry and have children. Young people choosing not to marry or have children can be seen as a form of passive resistance. All indications suggest that the CCP regime is facing an unprecedented crisis, and 2026 will be a turbulent year. Brothers, have you noticed a hurting phenomenon? We men are more afraid of marriage than women these days. I have a bunch of brothers in their 30s around me, and they're too lazy to even date, let alone get married. I even advised a few of them, saying it's about time they started dating and getting married. But one of them asked me a question that stumped me. He said, "Brother, I've worked my ass off to buy a car and a home, emptied my savings for the bride price, and then for what?" To be honest, I was speechless for a long time after hearing that. Blogger Mufeng said, "Look at how high the divorce rate is now. It's frighteningly high." He believes that over 80% of families choose divorce because of financial problems. As the saying goes, poverty-stricken couples face 100 sorrows, perfectly capturing the bitterness of so many men. What's most unbearable is that once the marriage falls apart, all the men's initial investments, including the car, the house, and the bride price, are basically gone. And most of this money represents over 20 years of their parents' hard-earned savings. Many guys are choosing not to marry now, not because they don't want a family, nor because they're irresponsible, but because they're genuinely afraid. I'm not afraid to admit it, but since we got married, I haven't bought my wife a decent coat, a new phone, let alone jewelry or decent cosmetics. She seems to have been making do with what she has. Looking at her, the feeling in my heart can't be described by just the word guilt. I'm not posting this video to promote negativity. I just want to tell friends in similar situations that if your family's financial situation is average, or even if you have burdens from your family of origin and you haven't yet established yourself, please consider figuring out your own life first and don't rush into marriage. He said he bought a home the year he got married, and from then on he was burdened with a mortgage. This felt like a tight rein on his life. Before, he could buy whatever he wanted. Now, every expense has to be carefully weighed. The blogger said he wasn't saying poor people don't deserve to get married, but simply wanted to remind everyone. Entering marriage when you're financially strapped will be more exhausting than you can imagine. I'm 25 years old this year, and many people my age are married. My high school classmates, middle school classmates, and college classmates are all married. To be honest, I'm both afraid of marriage and envious of those who are already married. I feel that if you don't have much financial independence, can't earn money, are empty-handed, and get married, there's a high chance your partner will take advantage of you and bully you. That's human nature. Don't gamble with it. If you have no one to rely on, the person you marry will most likely bully you. But making money is so hard these days, and working is so difficult. The little I earn now is barely enough to survive. Buying a car or a home is almost impossible, so I really have no risk resilience. I want to get married, but I'm afraid to, because I'm afraid that if I get bullied after marriage, my life will be worse than it is now. Ugh, I'm so conflicted, When your abilities aren't particularly strong and your income isn't enough to support the entire family's expenses, don't rush into marriage, because the end result will be divorce, and the betrothal money and the gold jewelry will all be wasted. The arguments seem to be triggered by trivial matters in life, but are actually all because there's not enough money. I think about it, I'm already 35 years old this year, and look at me, I haven't even had a relationship, let alone gotten married. I didn't really feel anything at first, but today my parents said something that made me think. They said that after we, the parents, are gone, where will you have a home? Who will you talk to if something happens? Anyway, it's quite confusing. But then I thought, who would want to date a 35-year-old woman, right? There are 25-year-olds. Why not date a 25-year-old? Let me tell you, for ordinary girls like us, as long as you don't get married casually, you won't make any major mistakes in your life, really. I come from a small town in Henan province. My family was extremely poor. So poor that I paid for my entire university tuition myself, working part-time to earn money while studying, and even took out student loans to complete my studies. I've never thought of relying on anyone to change my situation. I've always relied on myself. So when I first graduated, my family didn't want me to go to Shanghai, but I was determined to leave my hometown to work there. Now, after 3 years in Shanghai, I work a full-time job and do part-time work. Now, I'm a self-media creator. My biggest real feeling is that girls must rely on themselves to get out of their current situation, not on a man. You can't rely on him. Why are girls these days unwilling to get married? Let me tell you a story. You work hard to get into university and then get married right after graduation. Pressured by your parents to have children, you became pregnant after working for only a year. During the pregnancy, frequent absences for prenatal checkups led to you being treated coldly by your boss, leaving you feeling wronged. After giving birth to your daughter, your mother-in-law refused to help with the child. After breastfeeding ended, your company notified you of the resignation. Your husband suggested you become a full-time mom, and considering your experiences at work, you agreed. As a full-time mom, you were overwhelmed caring for the child. Your husband initially helped, but later he started sleeping in separate rooms. You also felt that since you weren't working, you should shoulder more childcare responsibilities. The blogger says that after your child started kindergarten, you wanted to re-enter the workforce but repeatedly failed in your job search. You resolved to take the teacher qualification exam, but because your child was noisy, you failed even the written test. Just then, you discovered that your husband's phone was filled with ambiguous messages. In a fit of anger, you wanted a divorce, but found that the house was registered under your father-in-law's name, and the family savings could be transferred at any time. Having no income of your own, you found yourself in a dilemma. Of course, many single women are still very afraid of the unknown future ahead of them.
说句挨骂的大实话哈。
To be frank, even if it gets me criticized, poor people shouldn't get married. I've tried it for you, and the result isn't satisfactory. In marriages of ordinary people or poor people, what seems like emotional conflicts are actually 100% due to poverty. Does married life require money for food, drink, and shelter? Do social obligations require money? Car loans, mortgages, which of these doesn't cost money? Two people working themselves to the bone for a month and not seeing a single penny, not saving a single penny. The blogger says that because poor couples are prone to conflict, all young people, especially young women, should consider this. Before marriage, you must assess whether your combined incomes can support your married life. Married life really requires money. Don't think that love alone can sustain you, so think carefully before getting married. For poor people, not getting married is actually the best choice. It won't burden yourself, your partner, or your children. Poor girls from humble backgrounds shouldn't get married easily. At least don't step into marriage just to escape life's difficulties. I am a very typical poor girl, and currently I'm a poor girl with no ability and a life full of difficulties. I'm almost 27 years old, my salary is barely enough to support myself, and my job is still precarious. I have no savings, no family background, and no goals. For the past 20 years, I've been intermittently trying, consistently achieving nothing. In the past 2 years, my elders have started saying I'm an old maid approaching 30, and that I should quickly find a good man and get married while I still can. The blogger says that if she chooses to get married now, she can only find a man whose family background is slightly better than hers. Once the couple has children, his income alone will be insufficient to support a family of 3. If his parents also lack stable employment, pensions, or retirement funds, their financial situation will become even more strained. After marriage, the challenges she will face will be far more severe. Not to mention the difficulty of finding work for stay-at-home mothers these days. She will also have to manage various minor matters, such as relationships with her mother-in-law within the marriage. Therefore, girls with limited financial resources should not rush into marriage. Marriage is far from the idyllic picture imagined. In China today, nearly half of young people aged 25 to 35 are still unmarried. This may sound exaggerated, but it's true. It seems this generation has suddenly realized something. According to data, the number of single people nationwide is expected to exceed 300 million this year. The blogger points out that the fundamental reason why many young people are increasingly uninterested in marriage is economic pressure. For men, marriage these days is practically an economic disaster. A simple wedding can drain the savings of 2 or 3 generations, especially the bride price, which can easily reach $70,000. But in 2023, the national average disposable income was only $4,300. Think about it, how many years would it take an average rural family to save that much money? The blogger says that according to traditional values, men are still considered the family's main breadwinners, not only bearing the burden of daily expenses, but also being responsible for their children's education. A child from birth to university costs at least $70,000, and that's just in 4th or 5th tier cities. Add to that the long-term burdens of mortgages, car loans, etc., and it's almost impossible to catch a breath for a lifetime. Therefore, more and more men are choosing not to marry, not because single life is so enjoyable, but because the economic pressures of reality make it impossible for them to afford the cost of marriage.
但凡是谈婚论嫁不顺利的女生
Listen carefully, all you girls who are having trouble getting married, this is the last time God is helping you. A couple of days ago, I did a live stream with a young girl who told me she was terrified before her wedding. She had been dating this guy for 3 years, but all she feels is fear. She is terrified and afraid to go further. She asked me if everyone is like this before entering marriage. I told her then that when I was with my husband, I felt happy, at peace, and secure. I really wanted to marry him. I wasn't afraid at all. So you need to understand that what scares you isn't the act of getting married itself, but the person. If that person is selfish, self-centered, and calculating, then you will definitely feel afraid before marrying him. The blogger reminds women that the stage of discussing marriage is actually the beginning of the first rehearsal of married life, which is no longer sustained solely by sweet words, as it was during courtship. If during this process the man prioritizes your feelings, is willing to compromise, and both he and his family are actively promoting the marriage, then you naturally won't be afraid of the future. But if you begin to feel uneasy, you must remain clear-headed and rational. This is often a signal from your intuition, a blessing from heaven, prompting you to reevaluate this marriage. Even a woman, if she doesn't realize that she'll reach 40, will be forced to accept some harsh realities. The first reality is that she's really not young anymore. I'm 39 this year, almost 40. When I was 35, I never felt any different from those young girls. My physical strength, my energy, my appearance, I felt great. I didn't agree with any of the things you're talking about. But now, do you still dare to say that? Do you dare to compare yourself to others? Let me tell you, we don't need to compare faces. Faces can be enhanced with filters and makeup. You can compare hands. The age difference between an older woman's hands and a young girl's hands is immediately apparent. Really, you can see it for yourself if you don't believe me. The blogger says that many older women feel regretful after realizing they no longer have an advantage in the marriage market. Some lamented, "I was too picky when I was young, and as a result, I missed out on so many good men." Others have begun to relax their criteria for choosing a partner, hoping to find a suitable match and get married soon. You're not planning to get married or have kids, right? But do you know the consequences of not getting married when you're old? First, you'll have no descendants, which is equivalent to having no family line. Second, you'll lack the motivation to strive. Third, you'll only be able to grow old alone and face death alone. Fourth, there will be no one to sign the consent form when you have surgery in the hospital. Fifth, there will be no family affection, human relationships will be weak, and among all the lights in the houses, not one will be waiting for you. Sixth, when you're old and going to the nursing home, if you're bullied or even slapped, no one will stand up for you. Seventh, there will be no companionship, you'll spend every day in loneliness. Eighth, there will be no one to care about and you'll be constantly gossiped about by those around you. Ninth, your property will be converted by outsiders, no one will truly care about you. That's all for today. If you enjoy our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.